There are athletes whose stories seem written by fate, shaped early, and fulfilled smoothly, as if their path was pre-selected for greatness. And then there are athletes like Gary Payton II. Athletes whose journeys are built not from inevitability, but from persistence, from reinvention, from resilience that never stops stretching, even when life seems determined to break it. His story is not the story of a basketball heir who simply followed a legend's footsteps. It is the story of a young man who had to carve out his own identity in a shadow larger than most can imagine. It is the story of someone who was never given anything easily, someone who fought for a place in a world that assumed he would succeed but rarely offered him the space to prove it. Gary Payton II became a professional not because his name opened doors, but because he kept walking through the ones that closed. Growing up as the son of Gary Payton, the Hall of Famer, the defensive icon, the outspoken face of 1990s toughness, came with expectations that would overwhelm many. His father was one of the greatest defenders the sport had ever seen. He was loud, magnetic, relentless, and unforgettable. Millions admired him, but few understood how intense that legacy felt inside the walls of a home where basketball wasn't just culture, it was oxygen. Gary Payton II grew up watching greatness, but he also grew up seeing the cost of greatness. The hours, the discipline, the sacrifice, the pressure, and the emotional grind behind the scenes. And from those early years, he didn't just inherit his father's competitiveness. He inherited the understanding that success is built, never gifted. But what made his story extraordinary was that he didn't immediately become the player people expected. He wasn't the enfant prodigy dominating youth circuits. He wasn't the phenom who filled gymnasiums. Instead, he moved through childhood and adolescence as a kid who loved the game, but wasn't entirely sure where he fit inside it. He struggled with dyslexia, and school became a daily battleground long before he ever faced elite defenders. Those challenges shaped him more than anyone realized. They made him patient, they made him persistent, and they taught him that the world wouldn't always bend for him, even when he carried a famous name. That lesson would echo through every chapter of his career. What held him steady through all of it was the bond within his family, especially with his mother, Monique James, who poured strength into him in a way that complemented the fire he inherited from his father. While Gary Payton the Elder taught him competitiveness, Monique taught him grounding. She taught him to breathe when life felt heavy, to listen when the world got loud, and to believe in himself even when others doubted his ceiling. She wasn't raising a replica of a Hall of Famer. She was raising a young man capable of navigating the weight of expectation with humility and focus. That balance, fire from his father, composure from his mother, became the foundation of who Gary Payton II grew into. His high school career didn't land him on national recruiting lists. He wasn't a McDonald's All-American, nor was he plastered across scouting databases as a must-have prospect. So he did what resilient people do. He carved out another path. He went the junior college route, a road often traveled by under-recruited players who refused to let their dreams fade. At Salt Lake Community College, Gary Payton II began to show flashes of what he could become. He defended instinctively. He rebounded like a forward. He played with a motor that refused to turn off. But more importantly, he learned how to fight for a place in a system that did not revolve around him. His hunger grew sharper. His game grew fuller. And his identity began to take shape as something entirely separate from his father's. When he transferred to Oregon State, the same program that once turned his father into a legend, many assumed his arrival was a story of legacy. It was actually a story of reclamation, a story of a young man reclaiming his name for himself. At Oregon State, he was electric. He became one of the most versatile players in the Pac-12, someone who could guard multiple positions, rebound like a power forward, block shots deceptively, and act as a connective tissue on offense. Yet even then, despite the accolades and defensive brilliance, NBA teams still questioned his offensive upside. They questioned whether he could shoot at the next level, whether he could be more than a hustle player, whether he was worth a roster spot. Those doubts became the soundtrack of his early professional years. But Gary Payton II has never been someone defined by doubt. Instead, he used every skepticism as fuel. His early NBA journey was a carousel of short-term opportunities, 10-day contracts, G League stints, and hopeful repeats. Milwaukee, Los Angeles, Washington, back to the G League, back to tryouts. back to proving himself again and again. Most players break under that kind of repetition. But Gary Payton II grew stronger. He remained one of the best defenders in every room he entered. He remained one of the toughest competitors in any gym. He studied film relentlessly. He sharpened his cutting, improved his finishing, and learned how to be productive even without the ball. He understood that NBA success for someone like him required mastery of the small things, and he committed to mastering every inch of them. Everything changed when he landed with the Golden State Warriors. Their system, built on movement, intelligence, anticipation, and defensive versatility, became the perfect ecosystem for a player like him. He wasn't just another roster addition. He became a revelation. His defense elevated the entire structure of the team. He guarded stars across all positions. He disrupted passing lanes, attacked rebounds, finished lobs, and brought a level of athletic intensity that even Golden State didn't fully realize it needed. Steve Kerr called him a game changer, and he was right. Gary Payton II became not just a rotation piece, but a critical factor in Golden State's championship run. In the 2022 playoffs, he became more than a role player. He became a symbol of everything the Warriors stood for. His chase-down blocks, his ability to guard players much larger than himself, his unselfishness, his willingness to dive for balls, to crash the glass, to set screens, to move without the ball. These were the things that elevated Golden State when the stakes were highest. His injury in the Memphis series became a national moment not because he was a star, but because everyone understood his value. And when he returned, battered but unbroken, it wasn't just a basketball moment. It was a testament to a lifetime of perseverance. Gary Payton II's career has become defined by the qualities that statistics often fail to measure. He is a defender whose excellence is built on angles, effort, and instincts rather than height or wingspan alone. He is a teammate who lifts energy in the locker room without needing attention. He is a competitor who plays every game as if it is his last. And he is a human being whose work off the court, in mental health advocacy, in community uplift, in supporting children with learning disabilities, reflects a man who understands the power of vulnerability and resilience. And through it all, he carries himself with humility. He smiles more easily than his father did. He speaks more softly. He moves through rooms not like someone claiming a legacy, but like someone grateful to contribute one. He has taken a name that once belonged to a Hall of Fame defender and turned it into something new, something rooted in perseverance, empathy, and self-made identity. He honors his father not by copying him, but by carving a path that echoes the same toughness through entirely different circumstances. Family remains woven into every phase of his journey. His father watches him with pride that is visible even through the competitive exterior. His mother continues to be a grounding presence, the type of emotional foundation that allows him to thrive under pressure. His siblings, his loved ones, everyone who supported him through the unstable early years of his career, are part of the reason he plays with such gratitude. And now, as a veteran voice, Gary Payton II has become someone younger players look to for guidance. He knows what struggle feels like. He knows what it means to be overlooked. He knows how hard it is to remain confident when opportunities feel scarce. That understanding makes him not only a better player, but a better mentor. As his career continues, his legacy grows richer. He is no longer simply Gary Payton's son. He is Gary Payton II, one of the most beloved role players of his era, one of the toughest defenders in the league, one of the clearest examples of what resilience can create. His journey reminds us that greatness doesn't always come decorated with early praise. Sometimes greatness grows in the shadows, in the spaces where people underestimate you, in the moments when you have to convince yourself to keep going even when the world says no. And that is why his story resonates so deeply, because it is not a story about natural destiny or effortless rise. It is a story about choice. Every day, Gary Payton II chose to keep believing. He chose to keep working. He chose to let adversity forge him rather than break him. And now, years after moving silently through G League gyms and temporary contracts, he stands as one of the most respected players in basketball. Respected not only for what he does, but for who he is. Gary Payton II has built a legacy rooted in perseverance, shaped by family, strengthened by struggle, and defined by heart. And his story is still unfolding. There are more moments to create, more defensive masterpieces to paint, more big plays to deliver when his team needs him most. But no matter what comes, one truth will remain. He earned everything, not because of his name, but because of his character. Thank you for spending this time with the story of Gary Payton II, a journey shaped by heart, resilience, and undeniable determination. If you enjoyed this long-form tribute and want more powerful stories written in this style, make sure to stay connected and continue supporting these deep, heartfelt explorations. Your engagement means everything, and I hope you'll return for more inspiring tributes that celebrate the athletes who embody strength, passion, and perseverance.